Before I start off about what exactly this build is, I want to describe the purpose of the build, and that is to effectively play solo um, in 1vx situations and 1v1 situations and in group play. I think the Magicka Dragonknight before really struggled in 1v1 situations and especially 1vx. It really wasn't possible to 1vx, and the changes to the Thieves Guild have allowed for a Magicka Dragonknight to 1vx, but this, I don't want to make it seem like this build is awesome. It's nothing like a Magicka Sorc 1vx or a Magicka Nightblade. But if you guys do have a Dragonknight and you like to play Magicka characters, you can play a Magicka Dragonknight and be successful 1vx. So the first part of the build be the gear sets, and the 5-piece I'm running is Vicious Death. Right now it's pretty expensive, hard to find, especially if you want Impenetrable, and I have Impenetrable on 4 pieces out of my 7 of armor. The other set I'm running is Magnus. The first bit about the Vicious Death, it is a fun set, and it can really help in 1vx situations because you get, you know, that extra burst damage that really a Dragonknight lacks. And it can put a lot of pressure on your opponents. And this set's just great in group play too, because the playstyle of the Dragonknight and the Magicka Dragonknight is to get into the thick of things. And if you get somebody down and you have a lot of players around you, you will do huge damage with this set, and it is fun to watch. You can have some crazy things happen. And so I think the Impenetrable is really needed because I'm wearing 5-piece light, 2-piece heavy for now. I don't have my Undaunted passives. I'm going to work on that next. I would wear 511 if I did have those. And since you're wearing light, you don't really have much for armor. So the Impenetrable really helps to make you feel tankier. Other than that, I'm running Mundus Stone. I have the Prismatic Enchants on the big pieces just because I think the extra stats just help the DK. Health, stamina, these are good things to have on a DK. It's not so much important just to totally min-max your Magicka, in my opinion, in a 1vx situation. It's better to be more well-rounded. My second set is Magnus, just because it has a great 4-piece bonus. You get your recovery, Magicka, and spell damage. It's easy to craft. The swords are both Nirnhone. That's the best trait you can get for a Magicka character, in my opinion. You get the spell penetration, and you get the spell resistance. You get the swords, you get your sword passives, or excuse me, dual wield passives. Boost your spell damage. You could go sword and shield here if you want to be tankier. I don't really think it's needed. I think the Magicka Dragonknight suffers with damage as it is, so going dual wield is more effective in my opinion. On the back bar, I'm running Resto Staff. And, you know, again, you could go sword and shield here. I like the Resto Staff because it gives me something to attack from range, and it gives me something I can get my Magicka back in a really prolonged fight if I need it. I can show you now the skills that I'm running. We'll start off with Draw Essence. This is a great ability in a 1vx situation and group play because it does a lot of damage, and you can heal yourself so well with this ability, and it's a must-have in my opinion on a Magicka Dragonknight for 1vx. The strength right now of the Dragonknight Magicka is its ability to heal, and this is a great ability. I went with Draw Essence over Deep Breath just because it's so expensive. It's nice to get a little bit of, all the Dragonknight abilities are really expensive. So I like getting a little bit of magic back. Flame Lash is just the mainstay. Burning Embers is the mainstay for a Magicka Dragonknight. It's super cheap dot, and now it heals you for a ton. So again, all three of these abilities really do damage and heal you. Burning Talons now hits very hard. It's a great ability coupled with Draw Essence, and as you can see, I'm a vampire, and Devouring Swarm. Once again, that heals you too, does AoE damage. This build has a lot of AoE damage, and since you can heal yourself with Draw Essence, it's almost like if you see three people bunched together, 4, 6, and especially running Vicious Death, that is the ideal situation for you. You want to get in there, get your talents up, Draw Essence, have, as you can see on the back bar, Proxy Debt, get your Devouring Swarm going, and you're going to do a lot of damage. And if you get one person down and get that Vicious Death set proccing, it is so sweet. I have Entropy here, you know, it gives you max health, nice. You get the Mage Guild passives, all of them empowered, you know, extra recovery, extra Magicka, and then you get your 20% spell damage. So, plus it's really cheap. Great ability. On the back bar, I have Blessing of Restoration here. I tried Healing Ward for a while. Not a big fan of it. The reason I like Blessing of Restoration is all these abilities here that heal you, you have to be up front and hitting people and doing damage. And there's just times when you can't do that. And so it's nice to be able to heal yourself with something other, you know. And so Healing Ward just wasn't cutting it in that sense. Proxy Detonation, I think, is just a mainstay now for any Magicka build. And this is really on the Magicka DK where you can get some burst damage that it severely lacks. So be sure you have Proxy Det up. It is big time damage. It's where you get your burst. This here is kind of a flex spot. It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm running solo, I'll put Fossilized just because you need a CC. And this is where the Magicka Dragonknight really has to make some tough choices on what they put on their bars. And there probably is no cookie cutter build which you're ever going to run. It just depends on your situation. You know, I have a Magicka Sork, and you know, there's there's certain abilities of the Magicka Sork that are so strong that every Magicka Sork is going to run them. You know, you're going to run your Hardened Ward, you're going to run Streak, you're going to run Crystal Frag, you're going to run your Execute. Just, they're too good not to. And the Magicka DK has to make some sacrifices. And I like Volatile Armor because, as you can see here, it gets my resist up to something decent, you know, especially the physical resist because I'm wearing 5 light. So it helps with the tankiness. The spell resists get up high, but it also, because of the passive here, burning heat, you know, it gives you, while it's active, you get 12% more healing. And the sustainability of this build is all about healing. So that 12% is nice. It really helps out. But like I said, if you're like dueling, you know, I'd probably say Fossilized because you can really control the fight with Fossilized. In a group situation, run this because your group, whoever you're with, you have a Nightblade, you know, a Sork, even another DK have, and maybe they're running Fossilized. There's just better CCs out there. So just go with the Volatile Armor. It'll make you tankier. And I am running with a Gap Closer here. Since I'm a Vamp, you could put Mistform. I'm not a fan of Mistform. It doesn't seem to bring anything to the build PvP wise. And this Gap Closer isn't that good. It's better than it was. It can still be dodged. I just can't. It's really hard to play without a Gap Closer. Like a Sork, you get on them, they streak away. You know, your best option now is just to run at them. You're not doing any damage. It's bad. You're a DPS. This is a DPS character, and it really helps to be able to get into the fray of things as quick as possible and start DPSing. And, you know, Chains just allows you to do that, to get your talents up, to get your AoE going, and, you know, get your Burning Embers up as quick as possible, because these are the things that sustain you in a fight, is doing damage and getting these abilities off. And so without empowering Chains, something to close that gap, it's really tough to survive. And you know, Dragonfire Scale is just a great ability. That's a no-brainer. And this is sort of another flex spot I'd bury right here just for the recovery. And I might use it sometimes in a group situation. I could just put also bats here to get the stamina. Doesn't really matter. I think the option to maybe use this. I don't even have it morphed yet because I just started running. I just started running it. But since the Magicka Dragonknight abilities, you see how much they cost. Like this is 2,600 Magicka. Proxy that's 28, 3,000 here. All very expensive. And my recovery is around 1720 because I'm running Atronach here. And excuse me, I forgot to go through the jewelry. I'm wearing 3-piece willpower, 2 spell damage. This one's got healthy on it. I might switch it out. The hit points aren't bad. I'm going to go into that later. And then the necklace has recovery on it. Also, if you're really struggling with recovery, which at times I am, I'm thinking about switching this one to recovery. 1700 is really pushing. I think 1900 you'll be fine. I have to use potions and my ultimate a lot of times to sustain myself in longer fights, but it's manageable if you're popping your potions that give Magicka and you're using your ultimate when it comes up. Because with the Dragonknight you get, you know, resources back when you use your ultimate. So that's another reason why I like Vampire and Batswarm. It's sort of the perfect blend of doing a lot of very effective ultimate, and the cost at 158 means that you get a good amount of resources back for how long it takes to get up. Other than that, the food I'm running depends really on the situation and I think your play style. For me, I've been leaning towards the max health, max Magicka. At the end of the day, I would say the Tri-Staff food is just the most effective all around because since the Magicka Dragonknight doesn't have great defensive capabilities, dodge roll is sort of your best move into avoiding damage and getting a cast off and saving your life. So, you know, my stamina is not bad right now. By the way, I'm a dark elf, so you get 6%. It's not bad. So that helps, and I have the prismatic enchants here. So stamina is not bad. It goes up to 16,000 when I have Tri-Staff food on, and that's really nice. So I have plenty of stamina for CC breaks and, you know, dodge rolls. This just gives me a little more health and Magicka. I've been leaning towards it. You could run drinks. I think just fill in with food whatever you're struggling with in terms of resources. And I guess we'll go into champion points next. I have max champion points. We'll start off with a blue tree. I have 80 in elemental expert. This was at 100. I decided to drop it down. You lose, you know, not too many percentage points. And I found that putting 30 into Thaumaturge was huge in boosting my damage because, sorry, apparently Flame Lash is considered a damage over time ability. And draw essences, and obviously burning embers, and then burning talons, and then even, you know, this does a little bit of damage, but damage over time, and proxy detonation is considered a damage over time ability. So pretty much all these abilities are buffed by putting points into Thaumaturge. And so getting this up 11% was a lot more effective than, you know, another 3.5% here into Elemental Expert. Other than that, I have 28 in Elfborn just to increase the criticals of your healing and spells. I mean, it's kind of mainstay. And then this, I think, is really important too, is get a good amount of points into Bless because healing is how you stay alive in this build. You do a lot of healing, and this will boost your healing. 18 in Tumbling, that's just, everybody does that. I have 100 into Arcanist here for recovery, and then 49 into Magician to lower Magicka costs. I think that's just mainstay for most Magicka builds. In terms of the red tree, I have more points into Hardy than Elemental Defender because, as you saw, my physical resistance are lower. I think it's just a little better to make sure stamina builds will give you, they'll hit you hard. Because as a Magicka TK, you already have wings, so I've actually thought about maybe dropping points into this and just maybe getting this to 100 or close to it. But it's only going to be like another 4 or 5%, and I think it's better off here, just for the damage that I can't reflect. And then the rest of my red points are into resistant, which I think the impen critical resistance really makes you kind of feel tanky and gives you survivability, even though you're wearing 5 light. And as you can see with the blue food, my health is at over 25k, and I think health is going to be more and more important post Thieves Guild because everybody's going to start running, Vicious Death, Alchemist sets, these burst damage builds. And I think hit points are going to become a stat that is more important, where you can't just min-max your damage totally. You need to survive like these bombs that people are coming in with. And I've had a few, Nightblades, I don't know how good they were, but come in, try to bomb me. And if I was sitting at 20k hit points, I'd be dead. But just enough to survive. You pop a potion or dodge roll. It turns out, these builds that are set up to, Zerg bomb, they don't really have much after that. They blow their ultimate. They've already dropped their potion. They don't have anything for recovery. So I think health is going to become more of an important stat. And I was going to test out like sort of one of these Zerg bomb builds with the Vicious Death. I just think the Dragonknight isn't really the most effective way to play that sort of build. So I went more with a build that can manage in solo play in 1vx situations. And most of all, I would say the Magicka Dragonknight isn't the best right now, but it is fun to play, and especially with this Vicious Death set. I mean, look at the 5-piece proc. It's over 23k. It is so fun. You can be effective now as a Magicka Dragonknight, and the abilities are really fun to use. So I'm excited to share this build with you guys. Let me know any questions that you have, and have a good one.